Welcome to Macrium SiteDeploy. Macrium SiteDeploy is built on our existing Site Manager platform, which has been around for about 9 years, so it's had plenty of time to be in production, in use, and mature. And as we've gone through various versions, we've simply made it better and better, to the point where we were looking at our previous deployment product, which was called Deployment Kit, and we thought there's got to be a better way to do this than something manual. So what we did was we married Deployment Kit into Site Manager and came up with SiteDeploy. The important thing to note here is that Site Manager and SiteDeploy are two separate licenses in the same installer package. While you get both pieces installed, you will need individual licenses. So if you're using Site Manager right now, it's simply adding in the SiteDeploy license. If you're using SiteDeploy and you want to eventually add backup and restore to your capabilities with our central management console here, then it really becomes easy. It's just a matter of getting the Site Manager licenses for yourself. So they are licensed independently in the same package. You can use one or the other or both together. We give you that flexibility. When we're talking about deployment, really what we're talking about is how we're going to do a deployment to multiple PCs or to single PCs. The first thing we need to focus on is where we're going to store the image. We call these gold image stores. They can be located on a network share, such as a network drive, NAS, or other basic UNC path that uses a username and password credential to connect to. We also give you the ability to have a cloud-based gold image store in your own Amazon AWS Storage Gateway account or your own Microsoft Azure Storage account. These are all options that are available to you, but once you've selected the option that you want to work with, then really all you need to do is tell it how many simultaneous deployments you want to allow from the gold image store, and we will allow up to 60 simultaneous deployments from a single gold image store. But you can have multiple gold image stores. And this comes into play if you are working in an environment that is a hub spoke VPN connected environment where you have a central office and several branches. And what you can do is set up a gold image repository at the various branches so that when you do deployment situations, when you're pushing out either new machines or you're pushing out a support image to be deployed to a system that's off-site, you can select it from that local repository so the traffic for the deployment actually stays local. Now, once we've got our gold image store, the next thing we need to figure out is how we're going to connect to it. And this is where we use our new intelligent agent or deployment media. The deployment media is one of two things. We've got a USB-based deployment media, which comes as an ISO, and then you can use our tools such as Rescue USB Builder or a tool like Rufus, for example, to burn that ISO image to a USB stick, stick the USB stick into a computer, and then boot the computer off of that USB stick so that it gets into the intelligent agent recovery. The other thing that we've done is recognize that deployment situations, Pixie's probably going to be a much more common use. So if you build the Pixie media, then what we'll do is we'll have an option for the TFTP server that will be grayed out. And we have a built-in Pixie server, TFTP server, that you can turn on. To make it even easier for you, we set up a proxy DHCP as well, which you can turn on, and that eliminates the need for you having to set up options 66 and 67 in DHCP and just simply let the proxy DHCP respond to the port 69 Pixie TFTP requests. It doesn't hand out IP addresses. All it does is it listens for those port 69 requests so it doesn't conflict with your existing DHCP. If you have a Pixie server already, no problem. Copy the path, open up your File Explorer window, paste the path in, go to Sources, and there's your WIM files that you can pull into your existing Pixie solution for Pixie booting. So we've done the gold image store. We've got our deployment media. The next thing we need to do is we need to capture gold image. If you are an existing Macrium customer and your gold images are sysprepped and you're using an MRIMG file, which would be a Macrium file extension, it's fantastic, easy for you. All we have to do is go into our gold image repository, go to our deployment images folder, go to import, Drag and drop those MRIMG files right into import. Wait a few minutes and they will show up in your golden images panel. You'll need to go in and edit the architecture, boot mode, sysprep enablement, and Windows version. But once you've done that, it's done. The other way to do it is to actually boot up the system using your deployment media and grab a gold image from that sysprep system that you've already closed off and shut down. And I'm going to show you how to do that now. Taking a gold image is relatively easy. All we need to do is prepare the system using Microsoft Sysprep. Once we're finished adding in our software in audit mode, we'll select Generalize, Shut Down, and the out-of-box experience, and we'll shut down the computer. We reboot the computer using our either network boot or USB to get us into the intelligent agent, as you can see here. And once we've booted into our intelligent agent, you'll see that it's established a connection to Site Manager. At this point, we'll log in using our Site Manager credentials. And once we are authenticated, we will be able to take a gold image. It'll ask us which repository we want to put it into, and then it'll automatically populate the Windows version, architecture, boot mode, and the sysprep state. At this point, we just need to give it a name and a description, click Create, and it'll start the process for us. We click Next, we click Finish, and it'll start to capture the gold image. Now that the image has been captured, we should be able to see the image in our Site Manager SiteDeploy server, which is located here. And now we can see that Windows 10 Enterprise sysprep image is captured. Now that we've captured that gold image, we're ready to deploy it. So at this point, we need to boot up a machine or machines that will become deployment targets. When they've booted up using either USB or Pixie Media, they will come up to a point where they say connected to Site Manager. And at this point, they will show up in our deployment targets field. If you have multiple computers, you would select the computers that you want to deploy to. I've only got one booted up, so we're just going to do the one. But we will now select Deploy. And we will select the image that we captured in our previous step. When we click Next, we are now going to go through a couple of things. So the first thing I want to point out is that we automatically resize the image to fit the disk. So what we're talking about here is saving you a couple of minutes of deployment time per machine by simply taking the image that you have and expanding the available space and making it available to the main partition. It works the same way if you're going from a larger drive to a smaller drive, and it will reduce the amount of free space available as long as the image fits on the disk. But we're automatically going to do that so you don't have to go into Disk Manager and expand the partition later. The second thing that we do is we give you a sysprep answer file. It's a very basic answer file which you can customize. But what we've done is we made it variable based so that all of the information that we put in here are passed as variables to the answer file, rather than storing things like administrator credentials or domain administrator credentials in a plain text, easy to read XML file. So this is our secure answer file. When we turn this on, it does 4 things, or up to 4 things. The first thing that it does automatically, you don't see it in these options, is that it automatically skips the out-of-box experience and answers no to all of the questions that Microsoft asks you. Can we have do you want to turn on location services? Do you want to turn on the advertising ID? Do you want to give us your privacy? Do you want to send us more information than we need? No. So we answer no to all of those. We do that for you and make it simple, and we bypass the whole out-of-box experience, so it's not asking you region, it's not asking you keyboard and all that stuff. The next thing we do are 3 options that you can turn on or off as you need. And those options include computer name. So we can rename all the computers that you're deploying to, and we can do them sequentially by just using this sequential variable. And we could make that as many numbers as we need. up to 15 characters in the computer name. This will be sequential, so if we needed to start it at 335, it'll start at computer 335. And of course, you can rename the first part of this or any part of this, put the numbers in front or behind. That's all your option and your choice in how you set up your naming convention. If this naming convention doesn't work for you and you use something more like an asset tag or a username, that's okay too. Leave it on and I'll show you how to edit that in a minute. The next thing that we do is we will create a computer administrator account by either turning on the built-in local administrator account or by giving you the ability to create a new local admin user, which I highly recommend since turning on the built-in administrator account really goes against best practices because it's an easy name to guess. In this case, we'll just set up an admin account called demo admin and I will create a password for it. On our final step, we have the ability to join the computer to a domain. If we are joining it to a local Active Directory domain, we just simply type in the name of the domain, we type in an admin credential, and we type in the password twice to verify it. And again, these are not stored in the XML. These are passed as a variable to the XML, and the communication between SiteDeploy and the target is all encrypted. So we're pretty safe that way. When we go next, we're on our conflict screen. And our conflict screen, we're looking for green check marks all the way down. If you see an orange triangle with an exclamation point in it, that just simply means that there are multiple drives in the computer and we're waiting for you to select the drive that you want to image. We're never going to make the choice for you. It's your data, your computers. We want to make sure that you have full control over it. Now, I mentioned that we can rename computers if it doesn't match the naming convention or the sequential naming convention. So in this particular case, we're going to name this computer Bob. And then if you had a whole bunch of other computers, we could rename them to Jane, to John, to Joan. It doesn't matter. We can, rename all of them if we want to. So it just makes your deployment task that one step easier without having to go through the rename process. When we're finished here, we click Next, we click Finish. And if I switch over to the computer that we were working with, you can see that the image is now starting to be deployed. One of the big advantages here is that we no longer have to type in a path to the gold image. We no longer have to type in those credentials. They're automatically passed to the intelligent agent, and the intelligent agent knows, hey, this is everything that's going on, and it has the command and it's ready to go. So once this process starts, we'll let it go, and then we'll sit back and let it finish. Now that the image has been deployed, it's going to process the answer file. It'll take a moment, and then when it's ready, it will reboot again, and we'll go through the final phase of setup. Now we're going to log in as the domain administrator, but you can see already that we are joined to the Macrium demo domain and that the computer has been renamed to Bob. So if we decide we want to log in with the local admin that we just created, which was demo admin, we can do that, or we can log in with a domain account. I'm going to log in as the local administrator for now. Maybe. So here we are, process is finished. We are now at a desktop, logged in as the local admin for this computer that we've set up. If I go into settings and I go to system and I go to about, you will see that the computer was renamed Bob. It was joined to the Macrium demo local domain. And of course, we are logged in as the administrator, demo admin. So there we have it. We have walked through the process of creating a gold image store. We've walked through the process of creating your deployment media, either USB or Pixie based. We've captured a gold image from a sysprep system. We've covered off importing existing gold images into the import folder, and we've deployed an image to a system. We've covered off the main steps that we wanted to cover off today. I'm sure there's lots of questions, and I encourage you to please reach out to our team or schedule a demo. We're here to help you. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you love SiteDeploy as much as we do.